Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coangler Chronicles podcast. I am your host, Ty. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you haven't checked out episode 1, 2, or 3, be sure to go back and check those episodes out. They are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at, Google Podcasts now as well. So be sure to go back and check out the previous episodes. I cover some really great topics. In the first one, we cover adapting and overcome as a co-angler. The second one, we talk about some really great stuff as well, so I'm super excited about that one. And most recently, actually, take that back. In the first episode, I talked myself about the actual podcast and how to become a co-angler. In the second one, I talked about adapting and overcoming as a co-angler. In the third podcast, I actually did talk with a Bassmaster Opens pro who's going to be fishing all 9 tournaments this year as a boater. And we went over some very helpful, some tips, some tricks, some really great things there as it relates to being a Bassmaster Open Pro. So very excited about that, what it involves, what it entails, kind of living that dream, kind of getting out there, getting your boat wrapped, your truck, your whole deal. Like we talked about a lot of really good things like that, and maintaining your focus and being ready to go for when the season comes. But in today's episode, I wanted to kind of dial it back a different direction here as it relates to the actual co-angler side of things. So you may be watching this live on YouTube. I am sharing all the podcast episodes are available on my YouTube channel. That is at Bassandfurious. But in this particular one, also it's available on the podcast as well, on the Apple Podcast and all the places I mentioned before. You can check it out on there as well. So if you want to watch it and tune into some of my antics and whatnot, be sure to tune into the YouTube. If you like to listen as you're on your way to work or whatever the case may be, check it out on the podcast section there and download it. And I have been getting quite a few downloads. It's been going really well. I'm super excited about the podcast. I'm so glad everyone that tunes in. I get feedback on it pretty much daily from different people saying, man, I love this segment. Hey, man, what the heck are you talking about? Hey, man, I love this segment. I love this. So I'm getting feedback from different areas in regards to it. And I absolutely love it. I'm super excited about it. And I'm working on more and more things with it as it comes along. So I'm very excited about that. As I mentioned in the very first episode, I do have a very full household. So occasionally you may hear a little something different than my voice talking because I do have a tiny little one here in the house and he loves to join in the conversation when the conversation gets started. So super excited about that and super excited to have that. That's a phenomenal thing. And I'm just going to embrace that and enjoy that as far as doing the podcasting I'm doing. So in today's episode, we want to kind of go a direction. We kind of lock back in on the co-angler side of things. So just real quick, guys. All right, so real quick, guys, wanted to take a second there and get my stuff organized real quick for you. So I don't know if you can see that. If you're listening, I apologize. You might want to go check it out on the YouTube, but I am bringing out some stuff today. We're actually going to dig pretty deep as it relates to some co-angler stuff. So we're gonna go all the way in as it relates to some co-angler stuff, talking about some different things. So I kind of want to jump right in on here, and I don't necessarily have to do a disclaimer when I'm talking about my opinion and stuff because it's my opinion on my own podcast. I'm doing my own thing. I'm not a representative of any brand or any company or anything like that. I have my own brand. It's Bassandfurious. Be sure to follow me on all social media as well, like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that, Bassandfurious. I make some really funny, cool, and some informative videos, so be sure to check all that out as well. But as my own self, I am. But as it relates to this co-angler deal, it's just me. This is just me talking, right? I'm a guy who fishes tournaments as a boater and a guy who fishes tournaments as a co-angler. I've done both sides. I've done a lot more boater than I've done co-angler, but I have done both sides. So in co-anglers where things got really good for me as it relates to fishing out the back of the boat. So I'm familiar with what it takes to win out of the back of the boat. I'm familiar with what it takes to win out of the front of the boat as well. I've been in the boat with, I think now maybe 3 guys who've won the tournament. So I heard it on another podcast where they were talking about when you get into the boat with someone who just knows what they're doing, it's so hard to get in the boat with someone who has no clue. It's so hard. When you see what it takes to be successful at a high level, things been driving me nuts. When you see what it takes to be successful at a high level, it's so hard to then go backwards to a guy who doesn't even know how to flip a jig properly into a laydown. So if that doesn't tell you where my things at, guys, I'm going right in. Okay, we're gonna dive right in on some things. So it's so hard. So for me, having won myself and knowing what it takes to win, the drive, the dedication, the attention to detail to win a tournament from the back of the boat, I got 2 trophies over on that wall, one for a top 5 and one for a win. So you can't sit here and tell me, and I got a top 10, I didn't get a trophy. I honestly thought I was going to win that day. I did everything I did. I did everything possible, imaginable to be able to try to win that tournament. It just was one of them phenomenal days where everybody did really, really well. But still, I got a top 10 in that day as well. So, with that particular success being only being like my third full year of actually fishing from the back of the boat in tournaments, uh, like I said before, you guys gotta. There's a lot of people who they like to wait for like that one aha moment where it's like, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying, but you miss all the moments from the people that were sharing information with you before you hit the aha moment. That will you'll lose out on a lot of this information, and you could be getting the information that you need to be successful now instead of having to wait for that particular time. In particular, I wore this shirt specifically for the podcast. Like I said, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but I am showing a shirt that I'm wearing. If you're watching, I am going to talk about it, though. I am wearing a shirt. This is the Bass Pro U.S. Open. So the Bass Pro Amateur Open tournament the Bass Pro did last year, where the first place prize was $1 million. I think it was won by Logan Parks and Tucker. Those dudes got out there and won $1 million from bass fishing. I think they're from the Auburn bass fishing team. I hope I'm not messing that up. But those guys, man, and Tucker, they got out there and won. I fished this tournament as a boater. Okay, I fished the U.S. Open for $1 million as a boater. Now, you talk about some pressure. I had a 16-foot tracker and my 11-year-old son, and I went out there to compete against everybody else that was out there, all the other amateurs that are out there, for $1 million. Now, you can't minimize that experience that I've gained during that tournament, the practice time I put in, the prep time I put in, the map study I put in, all these things that I put in to try to be ready for that tournament. And we were so close to getting to that day to go to Missouri and get there. We were so close. A couple of missed opportunities on my part that they will never get out of my brain. They're there. I think it was in particular 2 fish that I missed and you can check that video out on my YouTube. It's on my YouTube. You can check it out. Fishing for $1 million tournament. You can check it out. But there's some invaluable experience that I got that day. I got to meet the crew. We filmed an interview when we got to Bass Pro. They interviewed me and my son talking about us fishing and the memories that were made that day. That type of thing, that sits with me. Every time I get to a tournament, I'm able to see what it takes, what you need to do to get there. Every guy in the world can tell me they fished the BFL for $4,000. Okay, that's fine. There's not everybody did this tournament. Not everybody's fished the BFL. Not everybody's fished the Bassmaster Open. So I will not limit anybody's experience when they're trying to share information with me. And I'm hoping that you guys keep an open mind as you listen to me as it relates to this Coangler deal. So we're going to kind of talk about that, in particular, to minimize. So I'm going to start there with our first topic of the day. We're going to talk about minimizing co-anglers, just in general, okay? This is a topic that seems to come out, and every pro that thinks he's a pro angler puts out a video out here that immediately minimizes co-anglers, minimizes their expenses, minimizes their practice, minimizes their time. There's so many boaters out here that are like, if you could do it, why don't you go buy a boat, right? That's my Luke Duncan best impersonation. Shouts out LBL. But if you could do it, why don't you go buy a boat and get up here and do it yourself? Like, there's always that guy. And while I'm not mad at that guy, I get it. But if they could, they probably would have won, right? Okay, so if they could, they probably would have. They didn't. Deal with it, okay? Deal with it, right? So as a boater, 100% expects a co-angler to respect this stuff and treat them this way and treat them that way. Why is it that before the guy even gets in the boat, you've already made a judgment that he didn't pay as much money as you did, his rods aren't expensive as yours, he doesn't know how to flip and pitch as good as you do, his truck's not as nice as yours, so I'm just going to put this guy in the back of the boat, I'm going to put him up on the bank and hope for the best. Why? What's the point of doing that? There's no point in doing that. Why can't everybody get in the boat, treat each other with respect, and have a good time? There's so many people that have that preconceived thing. Or let's go even further. If you're a boater and you get a co-angler in the back of the boat who's actually had a little bit of success, you actually went through and looked him up, because I heard this from several people. When you get in a BFL, the first thing that people do in a BFL, after you have the meeting, they send over your partner information for the night of the tournament. So for everybody who's thinking about fishing tournaments, this is what happens. You sign up, you get involved in the tournament. It's a random draw. So you have a meeting, they shuffle up the numbers, they randomly send you a person. They send you that person's information, and you have to contact that person, or they contact you. And then y'all figure out what you're going to do for the day. So when that happens, First thing most co-anglers do is look up the boater to see, has this dude won any money? Is he a local? Does he know what the heck he's doing? First thing boaters do. Most of them just call you or just sit and wait till you call them. They don't care who you are or what you're going to do because they're going to do whatever they do anyway. I really like those guys. But sometimes you get the guys that look you up. I really like those guys too. I really don't care. Doesn't matter to me. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a preference. I don't care. I don't prejudge anybody. I just get in the boat and go fishing. I've had some of my best days with a guy who knows nothing. I've had some of my worst days with a guy that knows everything. Then I've had some of my worst days with a guy that knows everything. And I've had some of my worst days with my guys that know nothing. That one makes more sense. And I've had some of my best days with the guys that know everything because they know everything. They've been around everything. They know where to go. And they know how to position the boat to make sure that everybody has a good day. They know how to completely screw you over if they want to because they've been doing it for so long. They fished 197 tournaments. They know how to turn that boat to get you from catching any form of 6-pounder, but they know daggone well how to get you around every 2-pounder because they've been doing it for so long. They've seen the angles. They know the tricks. They know all that stuff. So what I'm saying, I said that just to say that the preconceived notions is nuts to me. But like I said, you get your information, you call. And going back with the minimizing thing. So you get a boater, he calls you, he's looked you up, he knows that you won like 2 BFLs from the back of the boat. In his mind, he's already thinking, all right, this guy probably can fish. I'm going to need to try to find a way to get him off my fish because I'm going to need to do well and I can't have him catching all the fish and winning the tournament. Then there's the guy. So it's a mindset thing. That's what I'm getting at with this. I hope I'm not off topic, but it's a mindset thing. There's some guys that get a guy in the back of the boat that know he can fish and they just go fishing. They're not thinking all in, I got to keep him off my spot. I got to make sure he doesn't get any angles. I'm going to bulldog this guy. I'm going to make sure he can't get near anything. Why? What's the point? Get to know him first. Meet him. Talk to him. And then have a conversation with him and then let the day play out how the day's going to play out. Set up what you need to set up with him. If you want him to get the net, tell him get the net. If you want him to, don't tell him where he can and cannot cast at. Just mind your business and he going to cast where he need to cast at. Don't be getting in there. Don't you cast past this line, buddy. Don't be doing none of that because you're going to get somebody in the back that you don't know. And again, I just shown this in my second episode of the podcast. You get someone in the boat that you don't know and you tell them what you think they're going to do. I guarantee you the day is going to go way different than what you think the day is going to go because you're going to put 2 people in the boat that both are bullheaded and both don't care about what each other's feelings is. You're going to get some swim jigs flung past everybody's ear on each side of the boat. My suggestion to you is don't go that route. Have a conversation with them. Hey, buddy, how long you been fishing? Just a normal conversation and find out your information that you need in that normal conversation. So if you're a boater, my tips are going to boaters and co's, guys. I'm dishing out information for everybody. When you get in the boat as a boater, you talk to the co. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Good. Everything good? You excited for the day? I am, man. I'm looking forward to it. This is like my 5th tournament. I'm ready to get after it. Hoping to have a good day out here. All right, that's cool, man. Well, guess what? I'm definitely around some fish. You'll have your opportunities. You just got to maximize when you get your bites, man. And you know what? For the most part, if I need the net, grab the net, man. If I yell for it, just make sure you get the net. Get up there, help me out with the net so these fish get in the boat. I'll do the same for you. If you get a good one on, let me know. I'll get the net for you. Make sure you get them in the boat. I want you to have a good day. I want me to have a good day. Obviously, I'm here in this tournament. I'm ready to go to work. I put in my time. I got some spots figured out. We're going to run around. We're going to make it happen. Cool? Sound good? All right, cool. Sounds good. Also, too, by the way, if you got any of that green, orange dye stuff, don't spill that crap on my boat, all right? Pour it over the side, do your little dipping thing, and then go. Or if you got the markers, that'd be great. That way we ain't got to worry about it. Okay, so you see what I did there as a boater, as a mock boater in this particular deal? I just gave the co-angler all the information I needed him to have. Don't spill nothing on my boat. Respect me and respect my stuff. I'm going to help you out. You help me out. I set the tone for the whole day. I wasn't rude. I wasn't condescending. I didn't minimize. You only paid $100 to be here. I paid $225. So get me the goddamn net every time I need the net. And don't spill nothing. Don't step on my seats. Did I come at him like that? No, I had a regular conversation. And I understood all the information I needed, right? Does that make sense? Like, why can't people just do that? People are so bent on just being rude and not like having a conversation and getting to know the person. Now, that co-angler in the back of the boat, I heard this on a podcast the other day. That co-angler on the back of the boat ended up owning a company who one of his boaters wanted a sponsorship with. And guess who the guy was he had to come into in the office? was the guy. Some of these companies that own boats, they own tackle companies, they own shops. These dudes don't want to drag their boat out there, but they want to get the feel for the industry, what's going on out there. So you never know who your co-angler is. Your co-anglers, think about the guy who got SB Fishing as a co-angler. SB Fishing's filming for 150,000 people, or the guy who got Perrick. Perrick is filming for 900,000 people. He's vlogging this whole thing. You really want to get out there and be that guy that came out being a jerk and being rude and all this, that, and the third, with somebody who could have, think about it. If you get somebody like Perrick in the back of the boat who ends up owning a portion of a company, right, for the Googans and all that, you end up turning around where you want to reach out to the Googans. If you treated this dude with a good experience, same thing with the co-angler. If I get in the boat and I'm respectful to you and I make it a good experience, I'm not spilling nothing, I'm not stepping on your carpet, guess what? I'm not going to always be a co-angler. I may end up being a boater. You may be the boat owner, right? The guy that owns a boat. You may be the tackle company owner. You may be the rod owner. Now I got to come back to you. But guess what? When I was in the back of the boat, I was respectful. I was respectful to your stuff. When I saw your boat about to bump into something, I pushed it off so that you didn't scratch that mercury up. I did everything I could to treat your boat with respect. Now here I am coming to you and you're like, didn't I fish with you? You did. I was that co-angler. And you know what? You didn't put a swim jig in my ear. I appreciate you, man. We had a good time that day. We sure did. Now the conversation, look at that door that just opened up. By being polite, I'm explaining it on both sides, co-angler and boater sides. I hope this is making sense. If you're tuning in, I thank you for tuning in. Be sure, as I take a break, be sure to leave a positive review on it if you're enjoying the podcast. Be sure to leave it. Like I said, in my thing, I have no intentions of bashing anybody's behavior or coming after people, but I'm merely trying to say that there's more than one way to get done what you're trying to get done, and you can be successful. See what I'm saying? You can be successful, but you don't have to go about it a certain way. And I know there's a saying, these guys finish last, right? I get that. So you got to get in the boat and you got to full speed ahead. I don't care what this guy says, I'm going for it. Like, or there's the guy there's a co-angler that gets in the boat with a boater and then gives them a sob story. Man, my wife just left me last week, man. I got to pay the mortgage by myself now, and I don't know what I'm going to do. You get that sob story, the boater goes out of his way to make sure that this guy has a good experience, and then you see that guy in the parking lot making out with somebody, celebrating for this $3,000, and hops in a Range Rover, and you're like, what the heck just happened? Now that's a fake scenario. I'm not saying I've dealt with that scenario, but I'm just saying there's a lot behind this methodology regarding what some co-anglers and what some boaters are willing to do to make sure that the person has a good day. Some people sit at home and think about it, like, I'm gonna tell this guy that I lost my job. That way he'll kind of work with me a little bit. That way I can kind of get, like, some people really think like that. And to even fathom my brain to think like that just hurts. Like, I can't, there's no way I can do that. But to back to my point. So my point is minimize. Boaters, co-anglers, there's no point in minimizing what each other brings to the table. There's so many co-anglers that have a boat that's nicer than the boat that they get in for the event. They choose not to take their boat out. They live in New York, but they're fishing in Maryland. They'd rather just drive down with a tackle bag, hop in the back of the boat, and just go fishing, right? As opposed to bring their boat from New York down to Maryland, have to find a place for the boat and all to do all that. They don't want to do all that. You're there, you're doing it. When they go back to New York, they take their boat out. I used the example in one tournament there where a guy won a Toyota Series tournament and the first place prize was a boat. The dude had a Camus at home that was worth $75,000, $80,000. He hopped in the tournament as a co-angler. It wasn't in his state. He hopped in as a co-angler in another state. He just traveled around and fished, and he won. And he got the Phoenix, and he sold it as soon as he got it because he had a Camus at home. There was no point in having a Phoenix at that time. See what I'm saying? So there's some things that come up where it's like, you can sit there and minimize that person in the back of the boat or in the front of the boat if you want. You don't know their story. You don't know what's behind or the reasoning behind why they do. It's best to go about it the way I mentioned. Just have a conversation, a normal conversation with them. Set what you need to set during that conversation. If something comes up throughout the day, address it right at that time. Don't let that guy cast 5 times past your ear. Don't say anything to him. And then on the 6th time, shove him out the boat into the water. Okay? You can't do that, right? Like, set what you need to set. And when you see something happen that you don't think is going to fly at that time, don't fly off the handle. Just have a conversation. We're grown men. We're grown women. Have a conversation. They pitched up somewhere where you thought you was about to pitch. And you just look back and be like, hey, so I'm going to try to hit these first. And then you can come by right behind me and make all the pictures you want, but like, don't try to get ahead of me. Like, what are you doing? And if they say, well, I'm gonna cast wherever I want, then I'm gonna say, all right, that's fine. I'm gonna take you back to the ramp and we're gonna wrap this day up. And they say, okay, then just go back to the ramp, wrap it up. But before you do that, call the tournament director and explain what happened. Explain that you tried to have a conversation. You tried to say the person was not being respectful. The person was not listening to what you're saying. Code. You know what I'm saying? Address the things you have to address. But ideally, I would hope that everybody could just have a conversation, be respectful of each other, and then keep it moving, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Just keep it moving. So we got minimized. Now, the other thing that we want to talk about when it comes to coanglers is minimizing as well. We want to keep on that same topic of minimizing. Now, by minimizing in this particular case, I'm going with coangler. As a boater, it's your boat. Do whatever the heck it is you want. Put however many rods in there you need that you want to be successful. It's your boat. That's what you got the boat for. You didn't spend $90,000 to get the boat and then not be able to make the cash you need to make, right? No, don't do that, okay? But as a co-angler, it's not your boat. You need maximum space to move around and fish. You don't need maximum space to take up maximum space. You need to take up minimal space so you have all the space you can to fish. That is why, and like I said, if you're watching, great. If you're listening, great. If you're listening, I'm going to try to explain it so you can see. But what I have with me today for the live ones that want to watch is what I typically bring for my setups when I go to tournament fishing. I'm not going to go through all my setups and stuff like that, but I'm basically pulling these out to show you a number. So I'm going to count them out. This is what I typically bring. This is what I recommend. But you can bring a little bit less. In some tournaments that you fish, there will be a certain number of stuff that you can bring. You can't bring more than XYZ. I think in the Bassmaster Opens, you can't bring more than 7 rods. BFLs, I think they suggest 7, but I've seen people bring like 9, which makes no sense. Okay, but for me, what I typically recommend is 6. Any body of water you're going to, I recommend 6 rods. If you can get away with 5, if you're that comfortable, get away with 5. Whatever you're comfortable with. If you can get away with 4, bring 4. I think 4 is like ideal, but you got to be dialed to bring 4 and have a very efficient system to be able to get away with 4. Because some technique or something may come up that might throw you off. And as a co-angler, you need to maximize the time casting versus the time retying. So that is a theory that I will dive into on a different episode. But maximize time casting with a bait in the water versus time retying. Minimum time retying, maximum time casting. Now, if it comes down to a situation of the day, I do suggest taking like 20 minutes out of a day. If you're struggling, not having a great day, take like 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, go through, analyze everything that you possibly can. Let the boater just have free reign of the boat. Let him do whatever he wants to do. You're going to come back in the game in a few minutes. Take a timeout. Retie all your stuff based on what you see. So fishing that moment. Take that time and get organized. And then stand back up and then start casting again with your completely organized. That has saved me so many times in tournaments when I just take 15 minutes, sit down, retie, eat a sandwich, less eating sandwich, probably crackers, shove them in there real quick, and then maximum time retie, look at the sky, hold up my baits in the sky. Why is this color? I thought this color would work. What is going on? You hold it up, you're like, what the heck? No wonder, because you get to see how the light's coming through and hitting that worm. And you're wondering why they won't hit in that worm, because it don't look like what you thought it looked like with the way the sky is going. So you're like, oh, dang it. Then you make a change, and then you get the change, or your crankbait, or whatever it is, you make a change. Do it as quickly as you can while you're in the moment and catching fish. Obviously, make a couple adjustments. But if you're just struggling, not having a good day, take time, retie, get your mind right, and then get back in the game. But I suggest 6. And what I typically bring for every tournament, 4 bait casters, 2 spinning rods. 3 and 3 is good, depending on some places. 3 spinning, 3 bait casters. Like I said, 2 bait casters, 2 spinning is good at some places. If you know that you're going to a place where they eat a jig and a Texas rig, or a jig and a spinnerbait, tie on a jig and a spinnerbait, tie on a drop shot and a shaky head, and go fishing. 9 times out of 10, you take like those 4, they're not eating the jig, they'll eat the drop shot. They're not eating the drop shot, they eat the shaky head. They're not eating the shaky head, throw a spinnerbait or a crankbait. And so a lot of times that's pretty much what you need, especially as a co-angler. I'm going to talk about baits for co-anglers too in a little bit. That's in a little bit. But sometimes that's it. That's what you need to do. That's how it goes down, and that's it. So I brought these out to show you guys. Six poles, and I'll hold them up here for a sec. If you can't see them, Got 6 poles. My poles in particular, about 13 Fishon, rods and reels, everything. 13 Fishon is a huge partner of mine. I'm very excited to be rocking with them again for 2023. When you guys see these poles again, they will be all brand new because I have a whole new lineup coming in probably just a few days. So I'm very excited about that. But 13 Fishon. So I say 4 and 2, 6 rods, no more than, preferably 5, because you can do 3 bait casters, 2 spinnings, and call it a day. Spinner bait, crankbait, Texas rig or a jig, drop shot, shake your head, and go fishing. Like, that's it. That's what you need to do for rods and reels. Like I said, keep it very simple because you want the time. So I have these 6. I can slide them right on the side. That's my space. I'm fishing with 1. The other 5 are on the side, and that's it. I'm maximizing my time going fishing, minimizing my time retying. And why I say Texas rig and spinnerbait. So if you throw a spinnerbait, you miss. You don't got to retie. If your spinnerbait's bent out or, something weird happens there, grab a Texas rig, flip the Texas rig in there, bam. Now you pick up that fish that you just missed. Or if you're throwing a fluke, a lot of times in my fishing terms, I'm throwing a fluke because we're doing herring fishing. We're chasing fish around. So a lot of times I throw a fluke. That's one of my big things that I do. I love throwing that. I love throwing a fluke out there. So I would do like spinnerbait, Texas rig, and a fluke to cover like the columns. I really recommend coloring the columns. That I'm going to dig really a lot into different my method my system that I use for every tournament I go to. I have a system that I use for every tournament, and I will give you guys the system. You don't want to miss that. The system that I use is any body of water you go to, man. I guarantee you this system will not let you down. I know you guys are going to ask me about it now, but if you're listening to this podcast, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Coangler Chronicles podcast. Again, I'm your host, Ty. You're going to want to learn about that system, and I will share with you the system coming up here in a very, very near episode. The other part we want to talk about, again, if you can't see, is your tackle bag. And one other thing we want to talk about is your life vest. So my rods and reels are right there. I have them. I have a little strap that goes around them to keep them tight. So when I walk to the ramp, I have my rod here, I hold my tackle bag right here, and I walk to the ramp. Okay, when I'm showing up for a tournament. Now, this is, again, we're back to Coanglers now. All Coanglers right now. That's what I bring, is that. I walk up to the ramp. I want one hand for this. I want the bag either over my shoulder or I can hold it in my hand. It's light enough to where I'm not doing one of these. Notice how when I was walking, I'm holding everything up like this. Keeping my back, everything tight, all keeping stuff in your power zone for your lifting. You don't want to pull a muscle or mess up something on your way to the ramp because you got too much stuff in this bag. You're trying to hold 8 rods over here, hold them up. You see these dudes, they're tired, need a nap before they can get into the boat. You don't want to be that guy. 6 rods, 5 rods at most. And a tackle bag that's manageable. So tackle bag. And the other thing is a life vest. Always bring your own life vest. I recommend this kind of life vest because of the lightweight nature. I have back problems. I have neck problems. So I need a lightweight life vest. I don't want that big one choking me all day. I need a comfortable one that's good. I've confirmed this one will go off. It's gone off twice. And it works good. I know it will work good. I also, what I do now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I tie a hat. The hat has a little class thing on the back. I put a hat on my head when I start fishing, but I also tie an extra hat on my back. I've had so many hats blow off because we take off quicker than what I think we are or whatever. Big gust of wind. I don't know. A lot of silly things happen. Your hat goes bye-bye. I always have a second hat tied onto my bag so that I do not lose it. Or if I lose a hat, I don't have a chance of, getting my brain fried out there on the water because I have a backup hat. So I have a backup hat. In particular, I fished the Bassmaster Open. My hat blew away fishing with Mike Iaconelli. Mike Iaconelli signed a hat and gave it to me as my backup hat. So I ended up using one of his hats that he had inside of his deal, and he signed it for me. So I end up getting another hat out the deal, which I use that as well as a backup hat when I go out on the water. I put it away for now, but I was very thankful that I had that hat because, again, I don't want my brain out there just roasting in the sun. So life vest, I clamp it onto my bag so it won't fall. Hat, I clamp it onto my bag so it won't fall. So we talked about that. And I also like to carry a bag that I can put my lunch in. I really, like I said, I don't want another bag. So this bag has a nice little compartment over here. Not a compartment, but space that I can put my lunch in. And I put my tackle trays right here. And then sometimes I put a bag of soft plastics like on top of all that. So lunch, bag of soft plastics, trays of the baits I'm going to use for fishing. And that's what I have inside my bag. In my front compartments, as you can see here, I have a scale. Always recommend Coanglers bring a scale. You need pliers. I always bring these markers, in particular for boaters and coves. Boaters do not like when you spill stuff on their boat. No one likes when you spill anything on any parts of them. So I recommend bringing the markers, man, not that dye stuff, unless you can hold it over the side. That's how you bring your JJ's Magic. I always stash a swim bait in my bag. I always do a swim bait in my bag. This is one of the most important things as a coangler to have is the mended glue. This saved me in the Chesapeake Bay because I ran out of baits. So I had to start piecing them together. So I would use the broken one as long as I could. But in the meantime, I would do the glue to keep the soft plastics together. This lets you repair your swim baits, your creature baits, your worms, anything. If you're running down and only got like 2 left, you better have some mended. It'll glue it. I mean, it's literally as good as new. It's not lying. It's 100% as good as new. You definitely need this in your bag. I just started using it last year. Sunscreen. You got to have sunscreen. Got to have line conditioner. This is one of the things I definitely recommend. I don't know how y'all on the water is. I always put some of this in my bag. You can't see it, but it's a Dramamine. If you can see it, great. If you can't, if you're listening on the podcast, Dramamine, Real Snot, skin care protectant stuff, sunscreen. Got to have sunscreen. Like I mentioned, pliers. You got to have a pair of scissors. So I'm giving you guys all this stuff. You need to be writing this stuff down if you haven't fished no tournaments. I bring allergy medicine. Sometimes when you're fishing on like the Potomac, these bugs, stuff get to going. It just messes up all your senses. So I do that. I always bring, and I know a lot of you guys do, I always bring something special with me. My daughter or my son will make me something, and I always put it in my bag. This one in particular is my granddad's. I found out that he really loved fishing, unfortunately, after he passed away, and I found out, but I was able to get a whole lot thanks to my mother. I'm very thankful to my mama. I was able to get one of his baits that he used to use that was in one of his tackle boxes. I was able to get it. I always put this in my bag everywhere I go. Every time I started this last year, and that last year is the year I had first and a fourth place. So I ain't changing it. You guys may see on my finger, I am married. I've been married now for 18 years. I always have a wedding ring, but this ain't no diamond wedding ring that I would be upset if I lose. I wear rubber rings, okay? So what I do is, and sometimes when you get out there and things get to going, the boat get to rolling, and you get to pick up and put them down real quick, you have a rubber ring. There's nothing like coming home trying to explain to your wife where your wedding ring is at when you said you was going fishing, right? Like, I ain't trying to explain that. So I always keep a backup wedding ring. I know this seems kind of weird, but I always keep a backup wedding ring. One, because I don't want to lose it, right? You just don't want to lose stuff that's important to you, right? Something you've done for 18 years, you don't want to change that up. But I always keep a backup ring in there because I have had some go away. These I'm a lot more okay with losing. I have an actual wedding ring. I have no idea where it is. Oops. I don't know where that one is, but I have a backup one in my bag. Just because and honestly, the real reason why I do it is not so much for the wife, but I'm one of these people that, I'm sure a lot of you are like this, but I'm one of the people that have to have chapstick and wallet in my left front pocket. Has to be. Can't leave the house unless that's the case. Keys have to be in my right front pocket. Can't leave the house. I don't care what's going on. If my keys aren't in my right front pocket and my chapstick in my left and my wallet in my left, something is wrong. My day is completely off. My watch has to be on my left wrist unless my left wrist is hurting. Then it will go on my right wrist. But the whole day will be awkward because my wrist is on the right. It drives me insane. So I don't like that. So I'm the same way with my ring. When I'm making casts, when I'm doing things, I'm so used to having a ring on my hand. So when this thing, if it's not there, all I do is I just keep searching my pocket to try to figure out where it's at. Like all day, I'm just like, where's my ring? Where's my ring? So I gotta have it on there. So if one does slip off, I just gotta have another one just to keep myself in the right frame of mind for that day. Like I said, scissors. Last thing I'll share with that's in my bag is my split ring pliers. When you need to change out them crankbait hooks, something ain't going right, you need split ring pliers. I definitely recommend split ring pliers. But that's what I have. And basically, like I said, I'm walking you guys right now inside of my tackle box, inside of what I do. Depending on the time of year that you fish, this is going to come in key in March, February derbies. Got to have something to keep your hands warm. Got to have something to keep your feet warm. Got to have a good pair of sunglasses. I recommend 2 because these things do blow away just like hats. I think I lost 2 pair last year. Freak accident, but 2 pair went bye-bye. And then you always got to have a face buff. This, for Coanglers guys, when you guys take off in the morning, after you have your conversation, meet with your boater, blah, 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 you start the day off. When they mash it that first time in the morning, especially in March or October, when it's cold, if you don't got some type of face thing on your face, you are going to regret it. Immediately when they push on the gas, you will regret your decision for fishing a tournament. You'll regret leaving the house that day when you could have been sleeping at home next to your woman, you gonna be upset. So I definitely recommend a face buff of some sort. If you wear the AFCO jacket or the Badium jacket that I got, it has it built in. So you just pull that one up and you're good to go. I definitely recommend that AFCO Reaper hoodie for all Coanglers because it pulls up the face shield right over your face so you don't get it as bad. Plus it has the hood. You can tighten it down and you can take off. And it's not nearly as bad. So I definitely recommend that. But this, like I said, glasses, face shield. Like I said, I'm giving y'all everything I got. And then what I usually do, because I know myself on the water, I always have a whistle in my bag. I typically try to keep a flare in my bag too, just because you never know. And I always bring a little bag of medicine that I may need. My reflux may flare up. I may get a headache. I may need something for my liver. I have some stuff going on with that. I may need one of these things. I always keep a little bag of stuff because you're out there in the water. You don't know. I showed y'all like the Dramamine and stuff. You never know. You never, ever know. So you don't know what's going to happen, what might flare up inadvertently, something you didn't plan on. Always want something like that. I know some people recommend dude wipes and all that. I just hold it in for the most part. If you got to pee as a co-angler, just make sure you aim off the side of the boat. Try not to pee on the guy's boat. Like aim off as far as you can and then just pee. And then wash your hands in the water, or I usually bring some type of hand sanitizer in my bag. And I usually use my hand sanitizer, clean up, and I'm good to go. Because if the day's going great, there's sometimes a lot of high fives and fist bumps. And I don't want to, I'm just being blunt. I don't want to be peeing off the side of your boat and doing my thing and then fist bump you because you landed a fish. That's an awkward situation, too. If you're in the middle of peeing and your boater hooks up and he's looking for the net and you're peeing, you talk to him at that time about what's the best course of action for you guys, because I really don't know what to tell you on that one. That's going to be on a case-by-case basis. If he needs you to get the net, I'm also sure he doesn't want to see what you're working with either. So y'all need to have a conversation. He might have to go ahead and get the net his own self on this particular one because I'm in the middle of peeing, right? So got to have that conversation. So I hope that helps, guys. I went through my whole tackle bag. I shared with you everything I do except for one little thing. One little trick tidbit I do bring is I do bring a backup spool of line. This is the line I got right now. This isn't the line I normally use, but I put it in the bag because it doesn't have much left, and I'm trying to burn this up so I can use my good stuff when my new poles come up. So I want to get rid of all this stuff. But for me, for line, I use Verivox line. That's the line I use, but that's some cheap stuff you can get from Walmart. I'm trying to burn all that stuff right now while it doesn't matter. Then I can be ready to rock as it gets closer to the time when I need to be able to rock. But I did put that in because I was supposed to go fishing this past week. Didn't end up going. Then I got my bag filled up with a bunch of junk. So, but this is definitely, guys, that I just went through my whole tackle bag and my whole rod and reel lineup with you guys. Everything that I have, what I put in my bag when it's time to go fishing. I'm sure if you're listening to this or watching this, you may have some more tips and tricks. Hop in the comments and let people know if you're watching on YouTube or something. Get in the comments and let people know some other tips and things that you recommend bringing. Also, too, sorry, I forgot. Always bring a call system. I found out the hard way that they try to say it's mandatory. I don't agree with that, but some derbies, it is mandatory. You have to have a coal system in case there's like a breakdown or something. They need to be able to separate the fish, and you use the coal beams to separate the fish of whose fish is which. I know which 5 fish is mine, but again, the tournament director may not, and you got to have the coal beams. So I always recommend bringing the coal beams. I have a set. It's not in this bag because I don't have any tournaments coming up for 2 months, so I'm not going to weigh it down with that stuff right now, but that's what I do. And then for my lunch, I typically go in my cabinet here. I pack up a little whatever Target bag that my wife went and got to. I usually take this Target bag. I go through, I grab some applesauce, banana, but I usually eat the banana before I get there because I want the potassium in my system before I stand up for 8 hours. I'll grab some almonds. I'll grab some Ritz crackers, make myself a PB&J, or I'll make myself a turkey and spinach sandwich. That's usually what I make, turkey and spinach. I bring an apple, orange. My buddy, he brings Jell-O, things like that. I put them all in the bag. I put this bag inside of here, put the other stuff on, we ready to rock. So that's how I do with my lunch. We'll talk about that too for lunch. Do not bring your leftover tacos from the other day and pull out your sour cream and be out doing all this on somebody else's boat, man. That's how we get a bad name. Because I heard some video about a guy putting out on my favorite person who talks so highly about every co-angler, Mr. Randy Block. He just loves us to death. I don't know why he loves us so much. He loves making every video about us insane. But talking about a guy who pulled out a whole napkin spread and the glasses and everything back there. Don't do that, man. Okay, you're there to fish a tournament. This ain't that. Okay, this ain't no picnic. This ain't no people investing their money in this. There ain't nobody. I'm not trying to walk over, especially as a boater, and I'm not trying to trip over your napkin and Yogi Bear picnic dinner back there, man. Your KFC chicken and and mashed potatoes. I'm not trying to trip over that stuff while I'm trying to put some fish. I don't want to lift up your picnic table napkin to put my fish in the live well. Okay, just have some common sense about yourself and bring us pack a little lunch, eat your little stuff in between, eat every 2 hours so you don't get sick and stuff like that. Make sure you're hydrating. There needs to be a water bottle in there somewhere. Hold the water bottle in your hand. Needs to be a water bottle in there somewhere. And that's that. I'm going to save all the money stuff related to how I feel about the money stuff. I'm going to save that for a different episode because I ain't going to get into that in this one. You guys, if you follow me at all on any social media network, you know that if I get on a money topic, it's going to be, we going all the way to the beginning days of history when it comes to money conversations. I'm not going to do that in this one, but I will save all that. I will save all that for a different episode. But that's what I recommend for bringing with you for tournaments, guys. That's what I recommend for bringing for your tournaments. Okay, those things are crucial. They're imperative. They must come. They have to be there. There's certain things that you have to have there. So your rods, your reels, your bag, your lunch, and definitely some water. What I do is I do a water Gatorade mix in the morning. I put water in I'll fill up the water. I add some Gatorade in the top. I shake it up, and that's usually my mix to keep me refueled throughout the day. My wife has this stuff too that she recommends, Liquid IV. It's pretty much a similar thing, but it's electrolyte drinks. So you get the electrolytes because you need those. You need those electrolytes. 1 second, guys. Shut up. Shut up. All right, guys, so you need those electrolytes. Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, I had to go quiet down the situation real quick here, but we're still good. So you need those for electrolytes to make sure that you'll be able to stand up throughout the day because it does get to be a wear and tear on you, tax on your body, stand up for 8 hours, that type of thing. So I definitely recommend that. But hopefully that information helps you guys for Coanglers. Guys, I went through a lot of stuff. I know we've been on here for almost about 40 minutes, but we definitely went through quite a bit of things to kind of talk about for getting you guys ready for the tournament. So be sure for that. The last thing I want to talk about is the get in the net thing. And then pretty much I'm going to call this a podcast for you guys for this one. Like I said, we're going to touch on some more topics as we get later on. We're going to touch on some more topics as we get later in the podcast here. But for get in the net. So for me, I like to fish the Bassmaster Opens. Can I help you? Okay. So I like to. Maybe. So, guys, so for getting the net purposes, oh gosh, for getting the no, they're not too fast. Okay, for getting the net for your boater, right? So we want to talk about that, and like I said, I'm gonna wrap this one up. So getting the net for your boater, that is going to be based on the initial conversation that you have. So going all the way back to our first topic, the initial conversation, getting the net for your boater. If you get the net, if he says he wants you to get the net, make sure to ask him, is he going to yell or say if he needs the net? Or is he expecting you just to show up if he catches a fish? Make sure you clarify if you feel like you need to clarify. If you're talking to somebody and you're like, hey, so about the net, you want me to get the net or are you good with the net? You just going to flip them in? How's that work? And they're like, I'll let you know if I need the net. There's nothing else that needs to be said. They said, I'll let you know if I need you to get the net. Okay? If they say that, then you're good, right? There's no need to discuss nothing else. They're going to tell you. You'll have some guys who are going to yell. You have some guys who are going to be like, hey, buddy, get the net, buddy, get the net, get the net. You have some guys going to be like, get the net, get the net. They're going to be that guy, right? Your job is just to make sure that you're ready. You don't want to cost someone a tournament, but you also, too, need to let them know that if you're not comfortable getting the net, you have to let them know that, like, up front. Get in the boat, tell them you look forward to having a great day, you're excited about fishing, hey, but look, like, when it comes to the net, man, it's not to say I'm not trying to get the net for you. I just don't want my net skills to determine whether or not you're going to catch a fish or not. And I don't want to make the boat day awkward because I miss a fish. And they'll be like, oh, don't worry about it. It's okay. If I need the net, just grab the net, man, and we'll work it out from there. Say, okay, cool. And then just try your best. And if you lose a fish somehow or hit the fish in the head somehow, Remind him of what he said at first. It's all good. We'll just work with it. Okay. Remember, like, look, I told you I can't get the net. I said that at the beginning of the day. You still asked me to get the net. This is what happened. I don't want to hear nothing about it. And tell the boater to move on. Okay, we're adults here, right? We're all grown people. Tell him to move on. Get out your face. You ain't got nothing else to say. You told him you ain't want to do it. He asked you to do it anyway. Think about it. In any world, in any planet, in any way, shape, space, or form, if you tell somebody, I don't want to do this, or I'm not comfortable doing this, more so I'm not comfortable. Don't tell them that I don't want to do, because people say they don't want to do one joke all the time. If I'm not comfortable doing this, I don't want to cost your tournament. I'm telling you this right now. You're telling me to shoot threes. I'm not comfortable shooting threes. I prefer to shoot layups. You give me the ball for a three, I shoot an air ball. Don't be mad at me because I shot an air ball. I told you I was going to shoot an air ball. I told you that before you passed me the ball. So, see what I'm saying? Like, if you address it up, but it works if you address it up front. If you tell him as you get the net and knock his fish upside the head that you've never netted a fish before, it's gonna be a bad day for the rest of the time. I'm just telling you that just flat out now. You can try to spin it around, maybe catch the next one, but it's gonna be tough to recover from that instance without any Most boaters, if you look a little shaky on the net, they'll just flip it in, or they'll do like I do, because again, I am a boater. I will lean down. I will get the net for myself. I hold my rod. I get it. Keep my tension. Lean down. Get my rod. That's why I personally like fishing the Bassmaster Opens. There are no nets. No one ever will tell you have to get the net. And then, honestly, like I mentioned, some people being slick. Boaters and coanglers can be slick when it comes to this netting thing. There's boaters out there that will tell you to get the net. The main reason they want you to get the net is so you put your rod down so that they can cast again before you get done getting the net. So they want you to get the fish in, hold the net for them real quick. That way you can't cast, and then they can cast out again at that spot. And then by the time you get a cast in, they've already made another pitch at that good area. So they'll make sure you keep the net there. So my tip for you for that is, if you're going to net the fish. You're clearly not going to cast where the guy just cast at to catch the fish. That just seems kind of silly. But so that you can get another good cast in at the angles that you're able to get a cast in, get the fish in the net, put it in the bottom of the boat, go back to casting. Let him get the crankbait out the net, do all that kind of stuff like that. If it's that kind of day, if you're with somebody who things are kind of on edge and you're not quite sure, you guys aren't quite seeing eye to eye, don't spend a bunch of time doing a bunch of stuff for somebody that ain't trying to spend a bunch of time doing stuff for you. Do what you need to do to be successful. Let that person do what they need to do to be successful. Keep it moving. Y'all get back to the ramp. You go home, and you make your respective vlog videos about each other when you get home. So that's what I suggest for the net. Like I said, just be respectful about the net. If they need the net, just get the net. If you can, if you don't feel comfortable, let them know you're not comfortable and kind of go from there. So with that being said, for this podcast, this episode and today about not minimizing anyone, that be boaters or coanglers. We're not in the business of trying to minimize people. I wanted to touch on the money side of it, minimizing expenses, by thinking that the coanglers are like a breed of people that are just broke, that don't have as much money as you do and don't have as many nice things as you do. That just is kind of weird to me. Coanglers are just regular people like boaters, right? That just chose a route to fish in a tournament. That's pretty much it. So again, it's about a mindset thing. So I think that's what I'm going to put this one as, is a mindset. Just having the proper mindset going into it, treating everybody with respect, having a good day, getting out there. Like I said, I'm going to dig deeper on some other episodes of the podcast, some more topics. But I wanted to kind of come back to what I kind of got this podcast going for, is to help out coanglers. So I gave you all the tips I can. Look out for that system I got coming out to text you about exactly how I approach my day. You guys are going to love it. Trust me, you're going to love it. I'm going to give you the system, the blueprint that you need to be successful any day you hit the water out of the back of someone's boat. All right, you're not going to miss it. Again, I got the receipts to back it up. I will show you exactly what I'm doing. Line by line, I will show you what's going on. So for another episode, Coangler Chronicles podcast, I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. I would normally ask an off-the-wall question to my guest, but you just got me today, so no weird question today. But stay tuned for the next episode. I got some really great guests coming on. You guys are going to be super excited. Different perspectives, pro anglers, elite top of the level guys, on their way up to pro level guys, co-angler guys that haven't even fished a tournament yet, female anglers, kids I got it all. So just stay tuned. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna dive deep on all these topics and hit it from a lot of different angles. So I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. Question. Okay, we have someone that's popping in here with a weird question. So if you're on live, you can see this. If you're on listen on the podcast, just listen close. We got a question coming up.
What suggestion do you have for wives just for wives of fishermen in general, because we're going crazy over here.
For wives of fishermen, It sounds like that might be a wife asking that question. Guys, I will give a whole episode to the suggestion for wives. We'll dedicate a episode to them. But for this particular one,
finally,
something coming for y'all. For this particular one, suggestion I have is to be supportive, stay the fight of the course, and then set some realistic expectations for your partner as it relates to fishing, of what you're looking for and what you think they should do. There you go. There's a politically correct answer. That's great. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you as always. Catch you on the next one, guys. Peace. I'm out.